Good morning. Good morning. Morning, everyone. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Got a few of the early birds up and out there this morning. Good morning, Luke. Good to see you. Kevin, as always, all the way from Florida. Thanks for joining. Facebook user, someone behind the veil. Morning to you. Good to have you here this morning, team. Well, the Facebook world is warming up and things are getting going on. We've got Andrew and Bryce as well. Morning, folks. I'll do the quick intros as we do. Let things get rolling along. Jason Witten's my name. Most of you know that. But sometimes we get some new people join our coaching and mentoring program. Some of us might even find these Wealth Coffee Chats randomly on YouTube or Facebook. And if you do, that's you. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I've been a property investor well over 20 years. Bought and sold many properties. Many of the selling I regret. Why these days I say buy well and don't sell. The ones that I would have kept. Anyway, only learn from, we do learn different ways, don't we? Many of us who are stubborn, kind of like me, learn maybe by trial and error. But some of us who are smart, maybe like you, learn from other people's mistakes and save yourself a lot of heartache, money, and time. And that's kind of what these Wealth Coffee Chats are all about. Trying to sort out a bit of fact from fiction and maybe working out what you might need to do as a property investor to keep the momentum going. Make sure you go the distance, get there in the end, creating that property portfolio that you desire, and that property portfolio giving you the outcome that you want as well. Pretty important to stay the course because property is a slow and steady investment concept. I don't think there's many that are kind of that fast, and when they are fast, they're pretty volatile, e.g. Bitcoin and other bits and pieces. Not my specialty. My specialty is residential property investing, and that's what we talk about. So welcome along, folks. Great to have you here, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Welcome to the show. We've got a few others joining us as well. Danny, we've got Aaron, we've got Jeff, and David. Hey, morning, folks. Morning. Well, let's get into it. Let's have a bit of a chat about what I wanted to talk about today. Today, I wanted to talk about the idea that as we grow and build our property portfolio, we're going to need the help from some other people. The old Han Solo concept, or the Frank Sinatra, I did it my way, doesn't really work out the best in my experience. Morning, Mick. Having some help, having some advice, having some guidance, having some coaching or mentoring is pretty important. However, we must, as the investor, understand, the property investor, understand what pieces of this puzzle we need at what time, and make sure we sort of know where people are coming from. So that's what I thought we might talk about today when it comes to the world of your team, what we call at Positive maybe a 6-star team. We'll talk about that a bit later in the world of property investing. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about what types of assistants we get when we looking to invest in property. Often, and I'll sort of start with the world of where I started, many of us seek out someone we might call a mentor, okay? Or another investor, okay? Mentor, investor. And that's on sort of the right side, and not necessarily right on the right side here. What are the other styles of a person who gives us some assistance when it comes to building our property portfolio? Well, there is certainly coach or coaching. Yeah, Tim, that's certainly part of our team, our 6-star team, the Legal Eagle. But this is the style of guidance. And let's talk about the high-level strategy conversation when it comes to strategy. Where will I go? Can I do this? What do I put together? And tactics, strategy, tactics, and implementation. And probably should have started with that one actually, which is good. I'll circle around. So mentor, investor, coach, as we go along, and advisor. And so these are the common ideas. These are the common advisor. These are the common skill sets, let's say, that I see when we have many people looking to get guidance as property investors. Let me do this. I'm going to put in the middle here. Let's do this. All right. So in the middle, there is the conversation as where do we get our strategy from? Our strategy, the tactics to implement that strategy, and implement. And what do we mean by that? So let's talk through this. And I think this will be a good conversation about the team you choose and how and when you listen to them, and what you get from each of them. Morning, Alison. Good to see you here. Thanks for joining as we go. All right, mentor. Let's talk about a mentor. What does a mentor do? Where does a mentor come from? And often mentors are people who have done the thing, done it. I bought 7 properties and I retired, and it worked for me. Mentor have done it before. Somebody who that you would look to for, let's say, inspiration. Let's say, will it work? Is there any examples out there? And someone who might be able to support you, in the journey along the way. What are some of the challenges, some of the pros? Yeah, and even better, still actively doing it. Dead right, Alison. What are some of the pros and cons? Well, the pros are a mentor, usually very well experienced, and they believe in the idea. They believe it. They've done it, right? They go, yeah, property works, property investing works, get into it. Don't listen to these, negative Nellies in these good time Charlies, right? What are some of the downsides of a mentor? And, I've experienced this personally, as well as seen it in the world of helping property investors. Some of the downsides of a mentor. So some upsides is they totally believe what they're doing. They totally believe what they're doing. 100%. I've done it. It worked for me. You could do it too. Some of the downsides is sometimes when it's just a mentor, someone who's done it themselves and achieved it, the downside is they have often a narrow point of view. Okay, so understand this, and you can see as we flesh this out, many of your team who sit or you work with, certainly the positive coaches and mentors, will have a bit of all of this in their in their support with you. But they have a narrow point of view because, you know what? I only buy houses and that worked for me, so that's all you should do. The way it worked for me is I buy old houses and I renovate everything. Renovations are the best. You know what? The only way it worked for me was I bought duplexes and I subdivided, and I kept one and I sold one. No, the best way to do it is become a developer, because that's where you make the money. So mentors often have a narrow point of view, okay? So nothing wrong with it, as long as we as investors understand that if you're talking to a mentor and they've done it one way, that's probably the only way they're going to talk about. Nothing wrong with that. Investor. I like the idea that, like Alison said, they're still actively doing it. Because, why? Why would that be, important? Why would that be important? Because sometimes, the market moves on, folks. Over, let's say, a 20-year period, things might, change, and the tactics and the implementation of a certain idea, let's say a certain strategy, might not be as easy as it once was. I'll give you an absolute perfect example. When I first started out investing, you could buy, we call it pigeon pair. Now, we just made that word up. I don't think it even means anything to anyone, to be honest. But what we would do in the world of investing for us, and when we had serviceability issues, we would go buy a very high positive cash flow properties. Back in my day, I feel old saying that, you could go to a regional location and get straight off the bat, folks, straight off the bat, not hardly even negotiating, you could get a 10% plus rental yield on properties. You could. It was an absolute no-brainer. In 90% of the regional locations in Australia, the rental yields were high compared to the purchase price. That changed after 2003. Probably, that decade from 2000 to 2010 changed all of that. Adjusted it. But what we did is we would put a cash flow property with a growth property. Growth, because that one was a little bit negative. You match them up, you put them together, and you could endlessly borrow. Folks, we've had clients buy 20, 30, 40 properties doing that, okay? Now, if someone was sitting there, back in Steve McKnight's day, exactly, yep. Jeff, those were the things, right? Yeah, exactly, Jeff. You could get it. You could get that type of property in average capital growth locations, but the rental yield was pretty good back in the day. However, since the GFC came along, the mining boom and bust, the APRA gnarliness with lending and all sorts of stuff, that idea is not as effective if it doesn't work at all for most people. So the point, if they're still doing it, they will have had to adjust their tactics and implementation to keep moving forward. I like that. So, mentor, done it, kind of Frank Sinatra, done it their way, still investing, very important. Why is it important that you have someone who can coach? Well, coaching is a skill, and it can be a learned skill, right? You might have a great sports player, let's say, whatever, a great athlete, but they don't necessarily make a good coach, okay? They can play the game. Let's say they're a mentor and an investor. They're playing the game really well, folks, amazingly well. But, when it comes to coaching and supporting and helping you along, well, they might be a bit shit house. Yeah. What do I mean by that? Coaching, when you go to the gym, or if you get a personal trainer or your coach, they'll start with where you're at, sort of at your level, and then help you build up, level whatever, and go from there. Often, an investor or mentor is talking about the level that they're at, and it could be well beyond your financial capacity, and also your mental or emotional capacity to be successful in this stuff, right? So a coach, they also, the professional ones, the good ones in this space, in the world of wealth, and property and investing, they get some training. They understand things like, language. They understand systems and processes. They coach people. They give you constant help. They put a system in place. They put in checks and balances. Coaching is a very important part of this idea of building our team, or our, 6-star team around us. Advisor or advising. What's advisor? All right. What's advisor? Well, what is important about advisor is this part. It's a technical term, advisor, which is, and this is quite good, licensed and oversight. They have some sort of oversight from somebody. Now, they're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, let me tell you. However, what's important to know is an advisor is licensed, and they often do the tactical and the implementation things. Let's say, for example, an very easy one to talk about, folks, is an advisor might be, tell me in the chat if you think who it might be, but, let's say, I think it was Tim. Tim was talking about it before. Actually, yeah, Tim was saying lawyer, but lawyer, accountant. So your accountant is a licensed advisor when it comes to, doing your tax return and et cetera, et cetera. Now, can you have a good accountant that is not a property investor? Yeah, you can. You can. Many people have got good accountants who know how to do the tax deductions, and squeeze every cent out of it, right? So there's the kind of the gist of it, team, when it comes to what do we need when we're setting strategy and tactically understanding what our next moves are and implementation. Hopefully you guys can read that in the middle there. What do we need? Well, high-level strategy, if it's based around taking action and, looking into the future and setting a plan that's kind of like aspirational, for me, for you, often the people best involved in sort of aspirational future plan stuff are people like mentors, coaches, and investors, right? They help you, extract what you want. Advisors, by and large, often, these ones are by and large, those colors aren't really standing out, are they? Let me undo that. Advisors, by and large, are often by nature very, very conservative people. And, because of the licensing and oversight, are very, very conservative, right? And let's be honest, that's what you want them to do. So for me, team, my 2 cents worth is that strategy, you sit with a mentor and a coach, and certainly someone who's still investing. Strategy is aspirational. It's future, right? Tactics and implementation often, is something that you do with your coach and your advisor team, all right? How do we get this done? Over the next 4 weeks, we've got a goal. We need to get our finance reset. We need to release our equity. Here's 5 things you need to do. Pay off that credit card, clean this up, do that. Let's get ready. Then we'll be ready to buy a property, okay? That's tactical. Get your broker involved. Where's my buying power, etc. And then implementation. Implementation is something that, is vitally important. Let's get the loan done. Let's get the property let out. let's get the taxes done, implementation, things that are physically done. And again, that over here is where your advisor, licensed team members come in, right? So, there's that. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Who do we need? Why do we need them? What for when it comes to property investing, okay? We have a thing called a 6-star team. Many of you know this already. And, how do you gather the right people around you at the right time? Your mentor, your coach, your lending specialists, people who can help you with the acquisition of property, the property management, your tax and accounting, and specialist providers. This is where sort of legal is and insurance and, other things up here. In those specialist providers. So there you go, team. Thought we might talk through that today. It's a very messy scribble right there, isn't it? I don't know if anyone can make any sense out of it, but if you were here on the conversation, hopefully you will when it comes to the idea of, do I need an advisor? Do I need a mentor? Do I need to talk to an investor? Do I need a coach? Well, let's be quite frank and honest. You'll need a mix of all of those ideas at the right times as you go along. But what I do find, and what many of our clients do find, is that advisors are very convincing, and so they should be, because they need to be qualified and experienced in the implementation and sometimes good tactical conversations, but they are conservative when it comes to strategy and future and action. And that's where your coach, investor, mentor comes in, and the Positive Real Estate team are trained and experienced with myself, Sam, Tab, and the team here. That's what we do. That's what we help you guys do when it comes to creating your property portfolio. Anyway, there you go. I think that's it. I'm done. Wealth Coffee Chat's done. As you go along. Jeff asked, is there going to be Wealth, Wine and Wisdom today? There's not going to be, Jeff. Fenton is still crook. Yep. The vomiting and diarrhea bug went through his household, and he's still down and out for the count. Not feeling great at all. So we might have to put a pin in that one. I might have to find myself another guest if Fenton can't hack at having children and getting sick. I don't know. Is he soft? Maybe. You never know. Anyway, well, we're sending him plenty of well wishes to get better soon. But in the meantime, you guys have a great weekend, folks. Thanks for joining me today. Yep, actually, who wants to be a guest on Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks? I need some backup guests. Jeff's in. There we go. Happy days. All right, folks. Thanks for joining. That's it. Wealth Coffee Chat's done and dusted for today. You guys be good. Have a great weekend. Join me next week. And remember, in the meantime, this thing's a marathon, not a sprint. Remember, it takes time to do the do to make sure we can go the distance. Buy well, don't sell. That's the drill, isn't it? Anyway, folks, that's it. Take care. You guys have a good weekend. See you next week. Bye-bye.